So this one is all about equations, but before we get to equations, let's talk about expressions. The difference there being that expressions do not have an equal sign. So the directions that would go to something like this would be simplify, meaning we're going to try to distribute where we can and combine like terms where we can. So I do see a distribution here, and you think we're distributing 10, but we're actually distributing this negative with that 10. So if you want to, boom, boom, please do. But this is really negative 7 plus negative 10 plus negative 70, x. Sorry, I almost forgot my x there. So that was negative 10 times 1 and negative 10 times 70, or 7 right here. Now, alternate way of writing this is negative 7 minus 10 minus 70x. So I just said instead of plus a negative, I just said subtract each time. Last thing we have to do, I see only one x here, but I do see two different numbers here, these constants. So let's put those together and say negative 7 minus another 10 would be negative 17 minus 70x. And there you go, all done. So the next one we want to look at is an equation. So this one's an equation because we see it equals, and we also only have one variable here. Well, not one, it's the same variable twice, but as long as it's just that one variable. So the first thing we have to do at DC Vance is distribute. Got two places to distribute. I've got over here 4n plus 20. Bring down your plus 8. And that equals this other distribution over here, 4 times 1 and 4 times negative 5. So 4 minus 20n. Now go ahead and after you distribute, combine like terms. So like things on the same side should go together. So this 4n should be plus a 28 rather than plus 20 and then plus 8. Over here we still have 4 minus 20n. And our next goal is to get only one of these. I don't want both of these n's, I only want one of them. So I'm going to get rid of my negative one. And the way we do that is we do the opposite operation. This is minus 20n, so I'm going to add 20n. Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. So I get to add that 20n to this other n over there. Now I add it to the n because these are like terms. Those are the things that are going to add together. So that is 24n plus 28 equals 4. So this is gone right there. Next step, to get that n by itself, I need to get rid of this plus 28. This is called a two-step equation. So you add or subtract first. In this case, we're going to subtract. And then we get to multiply or divide. And in this one, we get to divide. So 4 minus 28 is negative 24. Divide by your 24. And you got n equals negative 1. Now you can always test these solutions by plugging this right back in here for this n, seeing what you get on the side. Plugging it in for this end, see what you get on this side, and this side should be equal to that other side. Our next problem is a proportion. So anytime you have a fraction equals a fraction, you have to cross multiply this. So the first thing, I see a binomial right there. Make sure that's in parentheses, it goes together. And then we're going to cross and multiply. So 7 times b plus 3 equals, cross multiply, 2 times 5 is 10. So that was 2 times 5, 10. So this multiplication times this multiplication. Now it's a really easy equation. All we have to do is distribute and then solve a two-step. So I can distribute my 7. So that's 7b plus 21 equals 10. Subtract our 21, working to get that b by itself. So I have 7b equals 10 minus 21 is negative 11. That's an odd number. They don't usually work out, so that it is a decimal. So if we saw this on the SOL, it would probably say not to write it as a decimal. It would probably say a reduced fraction. This is fine as is because we can't reduce either 11 or 7. Alright, next one is this one. There's only one variable, but it's a squared. So we did this one later in the year than our regular equations, but the steps to them are very similar. So the first thing we do is get rid of the 7. Now don't subtract it. This subtraction belongs to that 5 if you need to, boom boom, so you remember that. We have to subtract the 7 to the other side. Then you have negative 5p squared equals negative 5. Now get rid of your coefficient, so we're working that p squared by itself. So divide by negative 5, and you get p squared equals 1. Last step, get rid of the squared on your p by square root. Now don't forget, anytime you take a square root, your answer is not only the square root of 1, which is 1, but also positive, negative. So it could be positive or negative. So let's do another example that's not so obvious there. So what if we did like 36? P squared of 36 to solve for that. Take your root. So P equals plus or minus 6.